Good morning again, and welcome to Childcare Challenges and Dilemma in Daycare. And today we have a very special guest, a mom from my day childcare, a sister. Let me introduce to you Jess, and she will take it from here. And what it's like to having me, of course, her sister. See the resemblance? Look at us. We're twins. Okay. What it's like to having me as a provider and the struggle that she faced and the challenges that she goes through and what it would be like if I had charged her the full fee and how we go about and her experience from working so long, and she's a two-parent household and a perspective from a two-parent household. And she gonna take it over, Jeff?
Okay, well, just because I have a significant other, it doesn't make it any easier. Each individual, each household is completely different. Like my husband pays child support for 2 kids that are not from me, and I have a child from him as well. So he pays almost $700 a month in child support. So he does make $21 an hour. But the job that he does have, it fluctuates like big time. Sometimes his check after child support coming out would be $200. Like this past week, it was $100. So I was currently working at Subway. So even when I was working there for 3 years straight, I was bringing in after gross was about $340, and my rent is $1,350. If it wasn't for Tati, for being there, like for a family, I would not even have a place to live. Like I could barely even make food sometimes, even with having the assistance for the food stamps with the government. And she even, only when need be, I'll ask her. She tells me to ask her for help for food. But, without everything that she does for me and my family, I would probably be in like the Salvation Army, like for families and everything else. Like I wouldn't be able to even make ends meet at all. Like it is so upsetting as well. It's really difficult. And I know there's people out there and families out there that are probably experience the same struggles and everything. And I just have to say that the government really needs to think about the people, and it's not only about care provider, it's the food stamps, it's the insurance, it's the whole system. The whole system has it trapped where you are literally staying in poverty and there's no growth in our society. So because there's no growth in our society, we're all staying at a low term. Now, Grant, every day, I am blessed. I am thankful. I am thankful for my husband. I am thankful for my kids and all of the above. But, I mean, it's so sad in 2024 that we are not receiving a balance in the government system of how they are handling the government's money to pursue for the people. Now, in 2024, there's lots of jobs, there's lots of this, there's lots of that. And then you got people that want to work, that want to actually work and do the right thing and pay their taxes and be civil to society. And then you got people like me that if I were to actually be on my feet, I would be that type of person to want to make a difference, to help stop the corruption of not helping and perceiving. Because how is a government supposed to help the people, but the people also have to want to help each other? And without helping each other, it's just a vicious cycle that we just find ourselves in, and we find ourselves into a downfall.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay. You're saying for the government.
Yeah.
Okay. How would you tell the government, the governor and the commissioner and the mayor and so on, how would you tell them to contribute to care for kids and, as you said, more health insurance? And what are some of the things that you have done and able to maintain? Like with me as a provider, and I don't charge you the full amount that I charge. As a matter of fact, I don't charge you the family fee that Care for Kids said, you know what, you should pay. And they said, I told you earlier, they pay for the first 40 hours or 50 hours, but then thereafter, there's 20 hours that you have to pay for out of pocket, right? What would you say to the governor or them in order to make your burden lessen as far as when it comes on to child care? What would you say? And what are some of the things that you had to do to maintain above water, you're not above water, you're drowning.
I'm drowning right now.
Right. Right, you're drowning now. So what are some of the things that you have to do to try to breathe? Because, we have the system that they're not putting into it. Care for Kids, we trying to seek more funds for Care for Kids, not only Care for Kids, like you said, but other sources like food stamps and Husky and all these other systems.
Yeah, but that all comes down to exactly how the government and Care for Kids are what they're talking about. What are they talking about? What are they doing to make the funds, and how are they managing the money? Like, as people, like, we talk to each other and we say, well, what are you doing with your money? You know what I mean? So if you're budgeting your money the way you're supposed to, you're going to be able to make ends meet if you're in a stable place. So, like, say I just got hired at my husband's job, you know what I mean? And if it goes through and I'm there for a while, you know what I mean? Like, you saw me when I was at Subway. I wasn't struggling to a point where I was trying to make rent, but not to a point where I was drowning. You know what I mean? With your help. But, when you have that consistency, now do we know the depth of what Care for Kids is doing? Do we know, like, you know what I mean? How they're managing it. How they manage it will determine on how they are helping everybody out there, including giving you more funds so it can help us, the parents, also stay. Like I said, it's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle. Like, why doesn't Care for Kids or the government or whatever give more insight of why they do what they do?
Well, but the thing is this: Care for Kids is like, with Care for Kids, for example, it's like an agency, and they're not the one that get the money. They get the money. In order for Care for Kids to get money, get more funds, the governor will have to approve it, and then the legislator, that we have a grid rail system that we have to get rid of, and they have to go. We have to talk to our legislator. We got to get to know who represents us, and we got to speak to those by emailing. Like you said, you have to know who represents you. You have to send email. You have to protest. You have to write letters. You have to flood their system. And that's how we want to know how, if you're in front of them right now, if you have the opportunity to email them, if you have the opportunity to make a phone call, one-on-one conversation with your representative, what would you say to them as far as investing in early education? Like, now you have a situation where you want your daughter to go to school, but then you're like, okay, how are you going to balance it, getting off work and coming and, picking her up and me getting her, how even...
Well, yeah, because unfortunately with me, I don't have family like that. It's literally just me and my husband. Serenity only has me and my husband. Okay. You know what I mean? She doesn't have anybody else. She don't have aunts. She doesn't, like, might have my sister, but she doesn't really, help, like, how most families are there for each other. You know what I mean? My family's really broken. Now, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other people going through it. You know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. The government, it's almost a case-by-case basis, but they don't look at an overall picture because they're so backed up and they're so confined and they're so overwhelmed that they need a better system. You know what I mean? And what is that better system to them to make a difference for the people? Like, what is your better system? What do you think is a better system for the people to help people like you, to help people like us and everything else? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the government could do, but like you said, it's a chain effect. Just like when you're in the White House, the president can't do nothing without Congress and everything else. You know what I mean? It's when you guys are all coming together, are you guys more into an agreement of helping and actually making the difference? Or are you guys, when you guys are coming together, are you guys just kind of like always tit for tat? You know what I mean? It is what it is. We're keeping it as it is. You know what I mean? Like, what's the bottom line? What's the depth of it that you're getting into? So the people can really understand. If the people can make a difference and our voices matter, then instead of arguing, because it takes two to argue, and when you get the government and Congress and everybody together, they all, instead of arguing, instead of just keeping it as it is, instead of finding a solution to help everybody in need. It would be you, it would be me, it would be, the people that are really, really struggling. That's what I would say to them, because they're the ones that are holding everything. You're the ones that are holding the progress back. You guys had that power to make the progress. What are you doing to make that progress? What are you doing to make a change?
Okay. I agree with that. One thing I want to touch on the topic. Now, you said that, go backward, fast forward. You said that your husband paid child support. Now, and his paycheck, for example, was 100 and something this week. Now, how do you make up that difference and able to make your rent or the car insurance or the cell phone?
Uber Eats. But this month, it's because of my church. My church helped pay my rent.
Your church helped. So
yeah, my church helped me pay my rent.
And then besides churches, they do Uber Eats, right? Yeah. And then there's a tragic experience that you faced recently while they're making extra hours while working at...
I was just making ends meet with working Subway when I was working for that tragedy, and my husband... I was barely making ends meet. Now,
but you're saying the tragedy, so we want to let the governor know that for a parent like her and her husband, a two-parent household, as you said, as they always said, two-parent household are good. I would think today, not because we have two-parent household, meaning that we're doing, okay, there's two-parent household that do struggling. She have a husband and yourself that's willing to do Uber Eats. They're willing to do DoorDash.
Working together as a team.
Working together.
Together as a team versus how you have a lot of people in society that are married, but they don't work as a team. Or they think, this is my money, this is your money. You know what I mean? You actually have households out there that are actually trying to work together.
Right. And then even though you're working together... Exactly. Even though you're working together, it's still not helping. Yeah. So that's why we need more fund in the system to make it. So we're going to go back on the tragedy that struck while you was at Subway working recently. I know it's a terrible thing. I love you. I know it's something that's hard to talk about.
I think it makes it even harder because it didn't even hit the news. There's no updates about it.
Okay.
It's like vanished into thin air.
Exactly, and that's what we want to let the governor know, that parents like her that's out there that's doing 3 jobs. It's practically 3 jobs: Uber Eats, Subway, and DoorDash, right?
Oh, sometimes.
Or sometimes DoorDash. Yeah. And then as she's working, right, to make sure that her family and to help and with all this stuff, you want to tell them what happened?
So on July 3rd, 2024 at 5:35 p.m., I was robbed at gunpoint at the Subway that I work at in Waterbury. And the guy came in, and the health inspector for Subway was there at the current time. And when he said my tomatoes in the front were a little bit too warm, so I went in the back to go get... I'm sorry. I went in the back to go get some tomatoes that were more fresher and cooler and switch them out. By the time I didn't even reach the cooler, by the time I came to the front, all I hear is the Subway inspector says, I don't work here. So in my head, I'm thinking he's like having a dispute with a customer. And then, so I went to go out to see what was happening. He had the gun on him, and then he put the gun on me. And in my head, I froze, but then my body reacted, and I grabbed the Subway inspector, and I locked myself in my boss's office, because it was a big metal door. So if he was coming, you can't get in the office, but I could get out the office. And I was in a full-blown panic attack. I was really freaking out. And then the cops came, and the cops asked me what happened. I explained exactly what I'm explaining to you guys what happened. And then they said, did you get the money? I showed the officer that the money was all over the ground. And since then, it's just been really traumatizing, because I actually loved my boss. I loved who she was. I loved actually everything about the job, but I couldn't stay because I was so afraid that if I went back and I had to work by myself because I closed at night, that I would be robbed at gunpoint again. So I've been out of work for 2 weeks and trying to make as much money as I could and doing Uber Eats and everything, but it literally still isn't enough to pay half of what I need, not even a quarter. It's really bad. Like, my husband only had a $200 check the week that I got robbed at gunpoint, and then he had $100 this past week. So, I mean,
right, and this is why, and thank you. I know it's a tough situation, a tough topic, but talking it to help everyone know. When the governor see this, then he see that parents like you and your husband that willing to work, that willing to do things. If they could put more fund and more stuff into the system, not only early education but all other systems to help parents. Two parents. It's not only single parents. I don't like the term only single parents, because then we have parents, both parents also working and struggling the same way. And my sister here, okay, I knew her for how many years now? Since Virginia was 5 years old. How old is Virginia?
No, you know Caroline since she was a baby.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So I had to be at least 16, 17 years old. 17? I'm 36 years old now.
Yes. Yeah, why? My babysit her niece, and this is why we more than just, she's more than just a parent. She's my sister. So what she goes through, I feel it. And it's personal, because I could have lost a sister that trying to make ends meet, that's trying to provide for her family. And if I weren't there as a provider, besides a provider that helped her out, then the struggle that she would have to do with food. Okay, and now she's trying to do it with her rent and like she said,
light, gas, car insurance, phone bills, everything. Else.
Take it over. Explain.
And it's just the fact that, I mean, even how is the governor supposed to even make a thing when you sweep one life under the rug, like if it's no big thing? I mean, even the government. So like they do things and they show things of what happened, tragedies of people being robbed at gunpoint at this location or that location. But how does the government, or how does even the people of the city even show like how are they supposed to make a decision or even know like what's the depth about what's going on in the world with single parents or anything else if nothing's brought to light, if one life doesn't matter? You know what I mean? It's just, to me, it's upsetting. It's sad. It's the government is always making decisions when they're not aware of bigger pictures or anything else. Like, it's upsetting. Right.
And the reason why you have to work night and your husband sometimes work day and sometimes work night is and I'm 24 hours, so I'm there 24 hours, 7 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. So I was able, when you hold the kids, and I hold the kids while you work, but then sometimes your husband come off, once he get off work, he have to go do DoorDash or Uber stuff.
Yeah, but you do it with the kids with us.
Right. Yeah. So then sometimes he would have to do DoorDash and Uber stuff so he could make ends meet. And with Care for Kids not giving enough, like you already know how much I get paid per hour. Like, we break it down.
Yeah.
Right. And then you see how much I get paid barely minimum wage.
Yeah, and how does Care for Kids do that? You have some kids, right, that pay full, or they're all through Care for Kids?
They're all through Care for Kids.
Yeah, that really, I feel for you.
So, but then a budget like that with Care for Kids. So if you have to sit there, right, and you have to say Care for Kids is like, okay, we need a parent intel, and how can we help providers and early educators? How would you direct them to that? How would you tell them? What would you say to them?
I would say to them that they need a better system. They need something that is going to stop the chain of events, that is going to make a progress in the world. Like, they have to realize that if they were willing to make their system better, it's going to make the world a lot better. Because if you have people like you and people like me, like, so if you were actually making more, like, and not only to help us, but you're also the type of person that would also help a stranger. So if a lot of people can see that there's a lot more people out there that are not only thinking about themselves and they're more thinking about others, then the whole world can make a difference. If they actually see more people that actually care about people in a generalization, you know what I mean? And they need to realize that to help providers is helping families. And what helps families is going to help the community. And what helps the community is going to help actually strive and make progress, which actually would stop their vicious cycle of actually having people pay out to the government, because it's going to give the people the chance to actually, get up in life and then not actually have to, pay out to the care for kids system, and maybe give them the hope that they can actually get better jobs or actually save up where they can actually pay providers out of their own pockets versus having to rely on the state always.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
I understand what you're saying. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that if they put more and make a better way, then you able, instead of put a burden on the state, you guys will be able to do it.
Exactly. Like I honestly don't want to be living off. I was actually in my life. I have progressed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was actually on HUD through Section 8. Okay, and I was there for 10 years. Then I finally stopped. I'm no longer, the state does not pay for my rent no more. I am making progress. Now, would I like to have more progress where I can actually pay people out of pocket and not have to rely on the state? Yes, because I don't want to have to rely on anyone. And the more people that rely on the state just makes a more efficient cycle. So how is the state going to stop saying, well, we don't have government funds and we don't have government this and we don't have government that? How are you going to stop that vicious cycle? How are you stopping it?
And that's what I'm saying. How would you tell them to stop it? That cycle. What would you say to them? What's a better system look like to you?
By helping pay you more, so then the people that are looking for the system gives them a chance to actually save their money. You know what I mean? So they're paying you more. You know what I mean? If they're paying you more, we as the parents can have the chance to actually get out of the system and start paying you, then start paying you the full amount of the money. Yeah. So this way, then you're not also relying on care for kids, and it stops that vicious cycle of, oh, well, we don't have money, the government don't have money, blah, blah, blah. It's just you want to be stuck in the system, but then you want to sit there and complain about how everyone uses the system, but you're the one causing for everyone to use the system because you're not helping the providers to help the parents, and that's like, I don't know what to tell you.
So, right, and I love that. Great point. Now, my next question is, okay, you said about helping the system, help the parents, and help providers, right?
Well, it starts with the providers.
With the providers, help the providers, because then if they put more money in the voucher, because the voucher comes from you by you having your daughter here, that's why I get paid. So now, my next question is, what do you think about them looking at your income gross instead of after?
That's a whole different ballgame, though.
But that's where the pain. That's how that's how you get the voucher. They base the voucher after your gross, not what you take home.
Yes, but
before taxes.
Yes.
So
the governor doesn't understand that's a whole different system. That's not just care for kids. That's everything.
But that's what care for kids based off.
That's what everything bases off.
Right.
Food stamps, insurance, medical, everything. I literally just almost lost my insurance for me and my husband right before I got robbed at gunpoint. They literally took my Husky AOA and then gave me I think it was Blue Shield or something. They gave me something else I never had in my entire life.
So why
all
was that?
Over because they said that me and my husband were $140 over the minimum, not for the yearly, but for the monthly. Okay? But then I said, how is that possible? Because I was like, you look at my husband's other checks, I was like, the growth of it was all less than that one check because it was the end of the school year. So they had more runs and everything. That one check, they were trying to base it off that one check of his.
Wow.
That one check, that was like most of his checks are only like 140 something. And that one check, just because it was like $347 after child support, after he's 165. So we're talking about his growth was way over, you know what I mean? But then the 165 of his child support came out of his check. But after all of that, it left him like 300 and something. So his growth income was like I don't have the pay stub on me right now, but it was pretty high.
Mhm.
It was pretty high. And the government was trying to base it off of that. I legit lost my food stamps for like a week. And then I lost the insurance after I just got that insurance.
Mhm.
I had to go into the food stamp place and I had to show them the pay stubs. And I'm like, I don't understand why you guys are doing this. This one check is not his income. If you look at his 3 other pay stubs, that is basically his income. And then they had to do it all correction. And then I got because they messed up by looking at that one pay stub, they actually gave me back my Husky A plus my food stamps and everything else, through the grace of God. So it's more than just Care for Kids. That growth income,
Right, but that's the same growth income that Care for Kids and every other agency pulls
every
from.
other agency that the government uses.
So what would you recommend to them about that growth income, pulling from that growth income? What would you say to them? How would you say to do? Earlier you said based and case by case basis, correct?
Yeah.
So if you go and apply, what would you say to them? What would be something you said? Okay, then they said we're gonna go growth. Would you because they have a system now that they just automatically pull from the taxes. They go to see what you file their taxes. They go to see if you're working, and they automatically pull that, so it show up in their system, and they go by that. What would be like, okay, then they like, I'm basing it off your growth, and this is it. This is how much you made. What would you say?
I think if you want to stop the vicious cycle, you should, at least when you're doing the programs, is cut the growth at least in half, to give the people a chance to make a comeback throughout the year. But I'll be honest with you, where there's pros, there's cons.
Mhm.
Okay, so the way government works is because of that growth in your taxes getting taken out, that's why the people actually get more back
Mhm.
at the end of the year in their taxes.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I don't know how the people would feel about it. Me, personally, I would rather you cut my growth income in half
Mhm.
and benefit, to support the programs so the people can get out of the system
Mhm.
and have less coming back at the end of the year
Mhm.
versus so much getting taken out at the current moment and making the providers and the parents struggle throughout the year, then getting it all back in one session at the end of the year.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I don't know how other people out in the world feel about it, but for someone that struggles on a day basis, I would prefer to have a change here and now versus at once a year.
Okay. And I agree with you.
That's
I
my
agree.
personal opinion.
I agree with you. I agree with you. So we saying that changes now, okay? Versus one time per year, instead of saying, like she said, change now. We want change now. We want change for providers. We want change for parents. Not only single parents, for both parents. We want change for married couple. We want change for anyone. There's changes all around. Because as a provider, like I said, I really don't charge my parent the family fee because I get to see their check when they have to submit it to the state for recertification. And when I see that check they take home, I realize that, listen, if I charge them, I'm just going to be adding to their problem. For me alone, for not charging per month, I'm losing 100. But that's for care for kids. I'm not charging about if I have to regular pay. I'm losing over $2,000 in family fee, just family fee alone. Okay, and that's per month. I take the loss and do that. So I would like to say for everyone that's out there that think that us as provider, it's all about money and it's all about this. But I can speak for myself. Like I said before, I love my job. I will give my life. They're my kids, and she could tell me, like I said, that's my daughter. When she bring her daughter here, that's mine. But when she's not here, she's yours. And if we see in the street, guess what? I'm still her mom. That's mine. So Serenity knows she got 2 moms, okay? So that's how it is. But we as providers, we love our job, and we like to make a decent wages, a decent living. So we could provide for our family as well as they could provide for their family. Tragedy like what she went through don't have to go through. She don't have to sit there trying to make ends meet, like do Uber, do extra Uber, and do subways, and her husband comes in there and doing other Ubers, and they get that wanted more time away from her family, more time away from her husband.
Yeah, it's definitely more time. Like, I would really like to be able to, and it's heartbreaking, I would really like to be able to do a little bit more Bible stuff with her, and I would like to do more actual stuff with work with her, and actually be able to get to write with her more and interact with her more, and I can't, and it's sad.
And that's what we're saying. By her have to do all of this, it's sad, it's can't, and we need to have the governor, the legislator, to sit and hear her story. Hear her story, a parent like hers and the stuff that she goes through, and not just sweep it under the rug to say, you know what, it's okay, it's another statistic. No, she's not another statistic. She's not a number. She's someone's wife, someone's daughter, someone's mom, someone's sister, someone aunt, someone friend. Okay?
God's child.
Huh?
It's a God's child. All of us are God's children.
She's God's child. We all are.
Money ain't nothing, okay? When you die, your grave is still your grave. But to make a difference, you have to find a better balance, because then you're just going to find at least everybody down in a grave to not even be able to survive. So to make a difference, if you don't want to see more death, you don't want to see more killing, you don't want to see more violence, you want to see more parents putting in the effort to maintain a society, to have a healthy society, to have healthy kids, to have healthy boundaries, to be able to know what's right and wrong, there has to be a better system. There has to be a better way. There has to be a better this, that, and the other. I mean, you want the society, you want the children to know right and wrong. The parents have to be able to live in a healthy manner, not in a struggle manner, so they can be there, because that's what kids need. They need their parents to be there and teach them. And how are they supposed to do that when all they're doing is just in survival mode?
And that's what we said. And I want to thank Jessica for being here today and taking the time out and sharing it with us and the experience. And we will make things better for her. We will try to work things out. You know what? The sky's the limit. And this new job, I know it's going to be something great.
Well, I think the most difficult with that is trying to find out how I'm going to get her to school and work and everything else. And yeah, that's going to be my biggest challenge.
Well, you know what? Like everything else, we will overcome this, and we'll figure out a way out.
That's because God always helps me overcome.
Amen. Amen.
God always helps me overcome.
Amen. Without God, there's nothing else. Amen. But God is good all the time. Okay? So without him, there's nothing else. And we're going to figure it out. And I'm here all the way to help, so we're going to figure it out and find a way how to make this work.
I mean, they say one voice makes a difference. I would hope and pray that the government can actually, see that the people's voices matter. Because I've even tried to reach out to the Waterbury mayor on Facebook about my incident and my tragedy at Subway. And it's like the world just thinks one voice don't matter.
And one voice do matter. And this is why I started this podcast, to know that your voice matter, our voice matter, her voice matter. And I hope this reach everyone that you listen to, that you can hear, and we could figure out a way how to help her, how to get her better, okay? How to make, because for her to be doing Subway and everything and make things going, and DoorDash and Uber, and she's putting her life out there at risk just to be like, I don't want to be in the system. I don't want to be a statistic. I don't want to be a number. But I also want to make sure that my provider is eating. My providers don't have to worry about, okay, how does she have to take out of her pocket to do this? And that's the thing. Well, we hope you guys enjoy, childcare challenges and dilemma within daycare. Until next time, welcome. Thank you, Jessica, again, for taking the time out. Thank you for being here with us today. All right. Thank you.